Today we're comparing the Brooks Glycerin 23 with the Glycerin 22. While on paper they look relatively similar, there's actually 5 key differences between them that are relatively subtle but together make a big difference in terms of how it feels underfoot and how it performs. I'm going to break these down for you so you know if it's worthwhile spending the money to upgrade or whether you should try and catch the Glycerin 22 while it's still on sale and in stock. First of all, let's look at the changes in the midsole. It still has the DNA-tuned nitrogen-infused midsole, but they've changed the blend in it for sure so it feels completely different underfoot, and in addition to that we've got 38 mils in the rear foot, 30 in the forefoot, giving you an 8 mil drop. In the contrast to that, in the Glycerin 22, we had a 38 mil in the rear foot and 28 in the forefoot, giving you a 10 mil drop. So they've reduced the drop by 2 millimeters, added extra 2 millimeters of cushioning underneath your forefoot, and you can really notice the difference. And it seems like Brooks is moving in this direction with all their shoes, as the adrenaline was also dropped by 2 mils from the GTS 24 to the GTS 25. And when we talk about how it feels underfoot, they've changed some key stability features. So we no longer have the lateral sidewall on the midfoot that we saw in the Glycerin 22, so it's a more of a streamlined look overall. Underneath the shoe they've changed the rubber outgrip layout, so if it's anything like we saw in the Glycerin Max series, well then we know it's going to be an incredibly durable shoe. Now the weight is significantly different as well. In my size 12 US it's 370 grams, whereas in the former Glycerin 22 it's 339 grams. So that's really a downside that we see in the Glycerin 23, and while you might think that it really affects how it runs, it's actually the opposite of what you think. So because of the change in the midsole blend, it feels much bouncier, much springier underfoot. And when we think about the DNA tuned midsole, it's got large cells which help to absorb vibration, and it's got narrow density pack cells which help with the push off phase of the gait cycle to make it bouncier and springier. Well, I think they've changed the blend within the shoe, even though they haven't told us what they've done, so that it feels different, it feels bouncy and springy, and I'll talk about how that affects performance when it's combined with the weight. But on top of the shoe we've also got a brand new engineered mesh on top, so you can see it's a bit more of a sleek look. It's got similar padded tongues, same amount of padding around the heel cup, and external pull on tab as well. Now in terms of performance for lifestyle use and day-to-day use, well, with that 8 mil drop it's going to give you more even distribution of pressure across your foot. Those of you who like the Glycerin because at a 10 mil drop and help to offload your Achilles, you may be disappointed with it, and if you're sensitive to change you may need to take your time in adapting from that 10 mil down to 8 mil, but the majority of the population probably won't significantly notice that difference. We've got a very flexible forefoot in the Glycerin 23 like we saw in the 22, therefore it's not ideal for those of you with sensitivity in the ball of the foot, but you still have adequate padding for those of you who really like the Glycerin. Now when it comes to running, it's really bouncy, much more fun. They've changed the heel bevel on the back of the shoe, so it's a big improvement, as it was slightly clunky on the Glycerin 22, so it transitions quicker from the back to the midfoot, and it's a bit more fun, a bit more comfortable to run in, but the weight does let it down. So it's still your classic workhorse of a shoe when you're thinking about long miles, easy miles and recovery runs, but because of that extra weight it just prohibits it from doing those up-tempo workouts, and it's the opposite of what we see in shoes like the Asics Gel Nimbus 28, where they've significantly reduced the weight. So some pros and cons in my eyes. It feels better in terms of comfort, bounce and spring. It's a shame that they've increased the weight. The upper is nicer than what we saw in the previous model. It's a bit more modern looking, but let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Is there anything that you're really disappointed in, or something that they should have changed for the better or worse? Otherwise, if you're new to the channel, we've got endless Brooks reviews, and thank you very much for watching.